Okay, welcome to the first virtual book fair in South Africa. From Mexico, we have the author and writer, Sandy Mora, with her book, Emotional Alchemy. And we also have the presenter and life coach as well, Lian Allweis. Lian, you can start.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm really excited, first of all, to interview my friend and colleague here, Sandy, who has written an amazing book, very inspiring and rich and filled with just amazing teachings from her own experience. So a little bit about Sandy and her book, Emotional Alchemy, The Art of Transforming Adversity into Gold for Your Personal Growth. After more than 20 years in the corporate world as a marketer in Mexico, and after several life tsunamis that she narrates in her book and explains in her book, Sandy found her passion and purpose in helping other people and corporations to strengthen their resilience muscles, tap into their own inner potential, and navigate adversities and change in such a way that they can become stronger and thrive. Absolutely. She does this through counseling, groups, and one-on-one facilitation. She is a speaker and she does mentoring, and she also works with corporations. She studied masters in human potential development, and she wrote the Amazon bestseller that we are presenting to you here today. She's also a podcast host of El Club de Limonada, and it's the Lemonade Club, where you take lemons of life and you turn them into lemonade, which is what she's all about, and she's amazing at it. In 2021, she received the award of Forjadores de Mexico, right? Am I pronouncing it right? For her professional career. She's a TEDx speaker, and she is currently studying certification. She's getting certified in the Happiness Studies Academy in Happiness Studies, and she's also one of the founders and the executive manager of the Happiness, the HSA, which is the Happiness Studies Academy Alumni and Business Club. So as you can see, she does a lot in life, and she is quite amazing. Sandy, welcome.
Hi, Lian. Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. So first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you wrote this book, how it originated, what moved you, why you wanted to write this book?
Okay, so, well, this book, as you said, it's all about, being able to overcome hardship and be strengthened by it and have post-traumatic growth. So how it came about is that I went through different things. The last 13 years in my life have been like very hectic, full of things that changed my paradigms, my view of life, my values, my everything. And it was from hardship to hardship to hardship. And I wanted to, to gather all my learnings, but not only the personal learnings. I also started studying about it. I wanted to help people, not only from my own experience, but also to, meet people where they are and be able to help them in their own path. So I wanted to prepare for that. That's why I studied the master. That's why I keep studying. And I gathered a lot of information from positive psychology to have, like a framework about resilience. So that framework and my personal experience, I mixed them in the book. And my intention was, first of all, and I have to confess this, it was a personal project that helped me get through one of the latest hardships that happened, so I needed something to hang on to that gave me sense and meaning, and that was finishing the book. I started it like 5 years ago. It stood in a file for a lot of time because I was hesitant. I didn't finish it. I had a lot of other things happening in my life, and then suddenly this last hardship happened. And I decided to take on and finish the book. So that's how it started. And the idea was to put my small grain of sand to giving people tools and very easy to practice practices or interventions in order to strengthen the resilience muscle and be able to view hardship as as opportunities, as catapults, and to be able to manage all the afflictive emotions that rise when you go through change or hardship or loss, and to be able to do this alchemy, and transform these dense and uncomfortable emotions into something that can help you flourish. So that's the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have gone through a lot in life, and you do talk about it very openly and beautifully in the book. And thank you so much for sharing for sharing that so vulnerably, because I think a lot of people go through hardships and they think that they're the only ones, and it's really important to know that you're not the only one, and you really demonstrated beautifully in the book. So you spoke about resilience, and you also spoke about post-traumatic growth. What is that?
Well, resilience is this ability that we have as human beings. It comes from physics, but it's like the capacity that we have to be, subjected to stress, to stressors, and come to our equilibrium, come back again, But I think that, well, it's not only that I think that, it's been studied that it depends on the tools you have to handle these situations, and the mindset you have can help you grow from it. So you don't only come back to where you were, but you improve as a human being. You detonate potentialities that otherwise would have stayed asleep. So that's what post-traumatic growth is all about. Is like these very hard experiences that you have in life, you can capitalize them and use them as fertilizer for your growth and to become better, wiser, more, with more tools to confronting life in a more positive way.
And that is basically the resilience you talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you definitely demonstrate that in the book. You spoke about how you wanted other people to learn from your experience. Can you talk a little more about what your intentions are with this book? What would you like for people to receive from the book when they read it?
The reason for it to exist is, to put out there and to give people options where they can choose and try. Our teacher talks about, me search, not only research, but doing me search. So there are a lot of tools there that you can pick and choose and try when you're in a dark space, or even if you're not in a dark space, or, practice makes, experts. So have different tools to be able to be, live better, because life will throw, balls at you that you cannot hit, and it will have like ups and downs. That's the nature of life. So the better equipped you are to deal with the downs, the faster you will recover, and the happier you'll be. So the purpose of the book is to it's like a handbook or a manual with a lot of tools and examples that you can choose, pick, and put into practice to become more resilient. And I talk about, 5 key ingredients that I found that I came up with that will help you, that those are the ones you need to practice and strengthen so you can become more resilient, or you can do this alchemy. You can become this emotional alchemist.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that you could practice makes you an expert and not practice makes perfect. I really love that you say that, because you get better as you practice. And it's something that you repeatedly talk about in the book, that it's not about doing it the first time or the second time. It's really about practicing and strengthening those skills. A lot of what you talk about, it's your personal story, and I love it. And you broke it down into these beautiful tools that you give people in the book. It has a lot to do with personal growth, but I also have a feeling that it's very relevant to what the world is going through right now. How do you think that we can benefit from reading this book with everything that's happening in the world right now? How is it that, how do you see the relevancy of it in the bigger context?
The book came out first in Spanish in September 2019. So right 3 months before the pandemic broke out. And I was really happy that I did it, because I think the times that we have just gone through as a planet, as humanity, are the clear example of, adversity over adversity and crisis after crisis, or stress, being exposed to a lot of stressors. And the idea of this and the relevance of this is to give you tools to deal with this, because, it's always been, known that change is the only constant thing in life, but I think that these 2 years have made it very, very clear to everyone that is the case. And I think that the change that is going on right now, and that is going to keep on going on, in the near future, and all the digital transformation that we're going to go through very fast, the changes in the workplace, obviously relationships, being in the same house all together, homeschooling, home officing, doing everything. It made it a lot harder to deal with all emotions from all over the place, finance, economy, everything. So the more equipped you are with tools that help you lower your stress and not go in the fear train, that I call it. If you jump in the fear train and you get overwhelmed by fear, you won't think, and you won't be able to discern and to make decisions that are best for you. So you need to lower your fear, lower your stress, in order to be able to to respond and not to react. So these tools help you do that, and help you be in a better place to deal and to confront and to manage everyday life and changes and uncertainty, because we're living in very uncertain times, so the idea is to be well equipped to deal with this, because it's reality. So but we can do something about it, because internal well-being, internal peace, internal happiness, and being able to digest all that happens outside will help us live better on the outside. So that's the idea.
Yeah. One of the things that you talk a lot about in the book, and I loved reading it, is how resistance played a role, and how your stubbornness and resistance. And I think it's very normal. We always have resistance. We don't like change, even if it's good. We don't see it as good at the beginning. And I really love how you talk about that process of the stubbornness, and that you had to be hit a few times to kind of like break you down. Do you think that there's a way that one could soften the resistance?
Well, for me, it was very, very hard. I think it's this resistance or this, not wanting to accept reality. It's normal. We are wired, to be to not want change or something that feels dangerous or that feels that it's going to take a lot of energy. Our crazy monkey in the mind, which lives in the very primitive brain, will naturally resist that. And it will say, I don't want this. Let's not do this, So, but that's a survival mechanism that it's not always optimal and productive. And it depends on your experiences in life. Maybe these barriers or these mechanisms will get, bigger, because if you've been, rejected when you were small or, abused or whatever, obviously these barriers grow stronger. But the more we put barriers to feeling, the less connected we are to reality and the less effective we are. So it's like, it's the example of the tree and the bamboo. If you're a very strong tree, and you're strong and you resist, a big wind will break you. But if you learn how to be flexible and feel the wind and feel the feelings and manage them, you'll be more flexible and you'll be able to adapt better to what's happening outside. So for me, that's been my life learning, to allow myself to feel and to accept what I'm feeling. And that gives me very valuable information that then I can process and transform and, alchemize in order to make better decisions and more wise decisions for me. So I think allowing ourselves to feel, it's very, very important, even if it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's not bad. It's uncomfortable, but it's not bad. It will give you important information. So if you don't feel it, you don't heal it. And if you don't accept it, you cannot transform it. And that has been my life lesson,
It's beautiful. Yeah, when you talk about the tree and the bamboo, there's a very famous yoga saying, I'm stable as a mountain and flexible as the wind. So, it's kind of like when you're flexible, you're actually stronger and more stable. I love that. You talk about emotions and allowing the emotions, and that's, I think, one of the hardest things to do. You talk about it beautifully in the book. How would you explain that in the terms of that actually vulnerability, although we see it as a weakness, is actually a strength?
Yeah, I mean, we've been conditioned to see it as a weakness, but I really think, being vulnerable, it's being authentic, and it's being in contact and being in touch with your humanity. And vulnerability is what brings us together, what makes us connect. So, but it's culturally, it's been like, no, your feelings, you don't think when you're feeling, so it's not useful. So don't, never mind your feelings. You rationalize and you go, you advance. And this is really not the correct way to go, because as I was telling you, feelings are the mechanism we have naturally to be in touch and be in contact with reality, with everything that surrounds us. So feelings are like the first resource of information about what's going on outside and how I am interpreting it. If I block my feelings, I won't be effective, and I will be making decisions based on wrong things, So it is important to allow ourselves to feel, and it is important to learn to digest these feelings. And it's different to control your feelings than to manage your feelings. And these two words are very, very different. Control is like, I bottle them, I resist them, I won't pay attention to them, I won't let them get through me. And managing, or digesting, it's okay, I'll chew them, I'll swallow them, even though they are sour, but I'll be able to understand the information that's there, what's moving inside of me, and what's the need. The emotion signals a value important for you and a need, and then you act upon that value and that need, but you need to feel first. So that's the importance.
Yeah, beautiful. One of the things that you mentioned before was that there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be hardship. It's something that will always continue to occur in life, and it's very true. So I'm going to assume that you still have challenges in life. How do they affect you now? How do you deal with them now after you've gone through this process and have become an alchemist in emotion?
You know what, and that's very, very important, because a lot of people, my kids included, they come to me and no, weren't you an expert? Oh, of course. We are all human. We will keep on experiencing hardships until the day we die, because that's the nature of life. Some bigger, some smaller, but we're going to have things that we don't like in life, and things are going to change, and our crazy monkey is going to become frightened. So it's not that you won't go through hardships. It's that you now have more tools to overcome them and break the vicious cycle of ruminating and the downward spiral of fear. You will have more tools to break that sooner and move upwards. So it's not that you won't experience it, it's just that you have more tools to handle it, and more opportunistic and timely manner, and you keep learning. It's like a video game. Every challenge, you're gonna you can use the tools you already have, and you're going to learn new tools. And that's the richness of life. And if you're open to that, and that's why, I propose a formula just to explain the elements, which is decision, acceptance, gratitude, faith, love, and action. And I explain them in the book, but it's not that it's a magic formula that then, magically anything will happen when you have those, you've practiced those. But it's like, you have them in mind, you practice them continuously, and then when the big tsunamis come, you're better equipped. It's like you have you have your life vest or your surfboard, and you're more experienced, and the wave won't kill you. you will jump into the wave with more confidence, and knowing that you have the tools. And if you don't have them, you already know that you will find them in the path, because it has happened before. So that helps you also, strengthen your own self-confidence, that you can learn, that you can find new things, and that this too shall pass. So that's the importance.
Yeah. You share a lot in the book, your personal stories, like I said before, and one of the things that you share is the former you. I have not known you that, I mean, I've known you, but not in those days. And I have to say that the person that you talk about in the book of who you were is very different from the person that I see now. And to be able to read that and kind of like go, oh my gosh, wow, that was her. I never see signs of that stubbornness or negativity, I mean, yeah, we all have our moments, of course, but I can really see the transformation from the person that you described that you were to who you are today very much. And I think that that is something beautiful that the readers can see too, because they go through that story and through the change with you, because you demonstrate it in every story that you tell. You can really see the progression that you went through, which is really beautiful. Why do you think, and who do you think and why should buy your book and read it? I think everyone, but
well, I also think that it would help everyone. But, particularly if you are stuck with something that has happened to you and you are not able to overcome it, or you're stuck there in the bad feelings and not being able to, move forward, maybe this can give you some tools, to start moving forward. And if you still, get stuck, please look for help. But also, every day we stumble with small, things that don't work as we want. So this book allows you to practice with small things every day. So your muscle is strengthened. It's like going to the gym, right? So you cannot expect to read the book and then when someone dies, you're gonna be like, oh yes, I have this cover and I know what to do. But if you are practicing every day, acceptance, gratitude, decision, your trust or your faith, then when the big thing comes, you're going to be much better equipped. So I really suggest that everyone reads this. It's like a starter's manual. It's not the panacea. There are a lot of tools out there, but I think the idea of this book is to give you a big overview of what you can do, and that you have agency over what happens to you, and that there are tools, and gives you a menu of tools that you can start using. So I would encourage everyone to read it.
I totally agree. I think I honestly believe that it's a book that everyone should read, even if your life is working well, because you learn how to make it even better. I love the book, and I love getting to know you better. How can people find more about you? Where can they buy the book? Where they can find you, what you do, your website, your podcast?
Thank you so much. Well, in the comments or in the description of this live, you can find the link to Amazon. The book is available in Amazon in a Kindle version and the physical book version all over the world, in English and in Spanish. In Spanish, I also have it in several audiobook platforms that you can find it, Audible and many others. And you can reach me at en, in English, it's en.sandy with a Y, _Mora, MORA.com. That's my English website. And you can also find me in my social media at sandymora.mx. And Sandy Mora Emotional Alchemy. So I'll be very happy to talk to anyone. If you have questions, you can leave them in the comments if you see these later, and I will answer all the questions. And thank you so much for being here, and Lian for helping me present this book to the public.
You're welcome. I love your book. I love you, Sandy. I will encourage anyone watching this live or replay, get the book. It's worth it. You will keep it and you will refer to it over and over again because it's that beautiful and it's that useful. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you. And thank you to the Virtual Fair Book in South Africa for this invitation. And, keep connected because there are a lot of options for you to read, but go buy this book.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your participation. It was an honor to have you both here, and we invite you to continue with the activities of the fair. Thank you so much.